And welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. This is KTN News Weekend Express, and it's now time for that conversation that I promised you, the two-third gender bill, which for the fourth time again in Parliament on Wednesday flopped. And of course, with me in studio is Madam Miriam Wachira, who is the FIDA Kenya Deputy Executive Director. And of course, to my extreme left, Honorable Alice Wahome, who is the Member of Parliament, Kandara constituency, a member of the Executive Kenya Women Parliamentary Association, that is KEWOPA, and also Vice Chair, Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. Thank you so much, ladies, for coming in. And of course, as I did mention earlier, we are expecting one, Alex Manyasi, who is a governance expert. Now, Mheshimiwa, I'd like to start with you. It is the fourth time the gender bill was presented in Parliament. And for the fourth time again, it flopped. It's been a journey of about 8 years since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. Why is it taking so long? Why does it have to flop again for a record the fourth time?
Let me start by saying that it is unfortunate that we were unable to have this bill pass on Thursday in Parliament. And we did not expect, we didn't really not expect it to pass. We had done our work very well as women, because it happens that every bill really needs a promoter. I would say that KEWOPA members were the promoters of this bill. Considering that it was a government bill, we felt that it was our responsibility on behalf of the women of Kenya, on behalf of the country, to actually promote this bill and ensure that we can bring forward mobilization, in terms of mobilization, the members to vote, because it's not automatic that members will all be there. This bill requires 233 members to vote. Is that not a small number? And in fact, at any time when Parliament is required to raise 233, which is the two-third threshold by our Constitution, then it is massive mobilization that requires all goodwill from all sectors, all dynamics of the House, including the political party leadership, because they have an influence on how members vote. And therefore, we had expected the government, if it was serious with this bill, Honorable Duare had done the good thing and the right thing to do, to bring this bill as a government bill. Of course, the Constitution requires the state to ensure that we have legislative and affirmative action measures that promote and protect the rights of women. It flopped, and I think that the country felt that it's the women. So there is a narrative, and it's a wrong narrative that it is the women who are not supporting. Incidentally, the Nation newspaper at the back had made a very erroneous reporting that we were only 20 women in the House. We did a head count through our own KEWOPA mechanism. We had 59 women inside the House. Honorable Sophia Abdi is the one who was tasked with taking the head count, so that we can also see and be able to be accountable to our women counterpart outside there who feel that we should support it. And actually, we do feel that we must support it. The government failed the Kenyan people.
I've actually picked three things from what you've said, and I will be dealing with each one of them. But the last statement you just said was the government has failed us.
Yes.
But it had a backing of the President Uhuru Kenyatta, the Deputy President William Ruto, and even ODM leader Raila Odinga. Wasn't that enough to, make it pass?
You know, I'm a second-time member of Parliament. I know what it means to have government goodwill and support. Indeed, the majority leader just sprung this bill and brought it to the order paper, and he chairs the House Business Committee that arranges, that works on the order paper of day-to-day basis. If he was not ready, if he knew he cannot bring the numbers, he should have gone back to those dynamics that I'm saying. He had not even called upon women to help him. So there is, lip service has always been there when it comes to women agenda. Because they have called it women agenda. They see this as a women agenda. They don't see it as a gender question that needs to be answered And indeed, we have passed 48 registrations that were required within the time allocated, within the constitution schedule. And therefore, when we lose this particular one that is seen to benefit women at the moment, at this particular time, but in future could actually be applied to benefit the male child. So there was no support. I can tell you, there was no support. And you know, I'm a member of the Jubilee Party. Our own members were speaking loudly that they were being demobilized by our party. Yes. What does that tell you? They are speaking different language to the public, but behind the scenes, they are doing different things. And it's extremely dishonest to pretend that they were supporting this bill. Of course, you know, you saw the women moving from one office to the other. Because, Lily, we felt that, you know, sometimes you can assume that the bill is on the floor. Particular offices, from the speaker to the majority, to the party leadership in the country, and even to the women movement, because it's also good to bring them on board, the media, and in you know, the country is overloaded, and it comes only when this question of cost and wastage is referring to this gender question. Yes, yes. Why are we talking bill? We have passed all those other bills. Actually, many of them are money bills, you know, meaning they have a monetary implication on the revenue.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And indeed, words like lip service and we were played are words that most women legislators have been using, you know, since, was it Wednesday or Thursday? Yeah. On Thursday, right? Since Thursday. But
no, on Tuesday. On
Wednesday.
On Wednesday, 27th, yes, on Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I really need to rope you in, Miriam. But before that, Mheshimiwa, there's something you started by saying. You said you didn't expect it to pass. And you've already said...
Yeah, because we couldn't see...
Exactly.
The right actions, the right movements, the right... You know, there is... Sometimes we even are called for PGs. We had requested the ODM leader, Honorable Raila Odinga, to call for a PG. We had requested Mudavadi to support. He has several members. Actually, the only person who I would say, and because I was present in those meetings, the only person who may have been genuine in this particular incident is, and supporting, in terms of parties, is the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. Yeah. We assessed his support and his commitment. Indeed, you could see that he was at pains to wonder, to ask why we have been unable to do it. So he gave it all. Yes.
Sure. Now, Miriam, the FIDA Kenya Deputy Executive Director, I want to have your thoughts on the fact that, the same question I asked Mheshimiwa here, the fourth time it's flopping in Parliament. It's been 80. Actually, it's more than 80 years since 2010. Why?
I think as a country, we have not put in the women's agenda. We do not value our women so far. So the reason that it keeps on flopping. And also I think the narrative around the bill has been a wrong narrative, that it is a women's agenda.
Yes.
It is the gender, it's gender. Now it's the women that are underrepresented.
The tables could turn.
The tables could turn. Yes. And we have seen in other countries in East Africa where tables have turned and now women are more represented within Parliament. The fact that it did not pass, it tells us that as a country we are not valuing the input that women are having. As a country, the narrative around women leadership is all wrong. We need to redirect ourselves. This is a constitutional bill. All the other bills that were relating to the constitution passed. Why not this one? Is there anybody who fears the implications of it? The only implication of it is that women will have representation within Parliament. It means that women's voices will be heard. I do not think it's too much to ask for. The implications of the bill, even financial-wise, it's not so huge it's so little compared to all the other monies that we are seeing around being said that it's corruption, it's been lost. The implication of that is so little. What we'll gain from this bill with women coming into leadership, and we have seen where women have led and things have really turned up well. We have seen countries where women have taken up leadership and everything is turning up well. So I think as a country, we need to start valuing what women are bringing on the table.
And in fact, Rwanda is one of the countries that, passed the bill, right?
Yes, Rwanda now has almost 50% women representation. Kenya, we are still under 20%.
Yeah. Okay. Now, the question we are asking our viewers today is, should the two-third gender bill pass the next time it's brought before Parliament? And one of the comments we got was, why pass it when the women were not in Parliament during voting? Now, I know you clarified on that, but I'd like us to talk more about that. You said there were about how many women? 59 women
members,
out
and
of
we are
76.
We are 76, and you see, Parliament session is on, so that there could be other businesses for Parliament and constituency that may take out members out of the jurisdiction of this country, so that, and we know maybe one or two were unwell, but we also know that there was those who had been sent by their committees outside the country. Yeah. Yes.
So there is goodwill.
So there is goodwill from the women, no doubt about it. You see, they always want to pick the women. Why should, in fact, we expect the women to be in the House?
Yes.
This House has 349 members. So every single member has the same responsibility under the Constitution to actually vote for this bill. We are saying the Parliament is not properly constituted, and members don't seem to have this right. They don't seem to understand, because of course this country has been used to a lot of impunity, disregard for the rule of law, and despise women. Whenever it is a women agenda, there is a lot of disrespect in terms of how they handle. You have seen even the cases of gender violence. There's a lot that the country needs to reflect back on, and why we are dealing with women in this manner. And therefore, you will find that people are saying, why should the women were not there? It's the same threshold. We are using a different yardstick. This is not the women. Women should not be expected to be the one on the front row. But we have offered, and we have committed our vote, and we were there. And actually, the media should apologize. The Nation newspaper should apologize to the women of this country. And we are looking for the Hansard, because the Parliament is electronic. Most of us had put in our our biometrics there, so you are able to pick who has come in. We will bring out that information.
So there were not
and I don't know why we were not 20. Even when we addressed the media outside, we were not 20. It's to bring this number. I don't know who had paid them. Actually, I'm sorry to say, because that really not even supporting. You need 233. Even if all the women were there, we could not have the numbers.
Okay, just hold it there. I understand there's something that we need to look at. And as the war against graft continues to dominate the headlines, a section of women leaders who spoke in Kajiado East constituency at the homecoming of Susan Malit have warned they will not support the referendum in the two-third gender rule if the two-third gender rule is not passed. Let's listen in.
Sisi tutasema kama wamama wakikataa, tutakataa kupiga kura ile yao wanataka ya referendum. Ni kweli ama si kweli? Tutaleta shida kama wamama paka wapitishe, waseme wamama wapatiwe kiti yao ya thuluthi mbili.
Kama kutakuwa na mjadala wa kuzungumza mambo ya referendum, naona kina mama wetu anasema hatuta support referendum kama gender rule haijapitishwa. Lakini pamoja na hiyo, hebu tuangalie tuweze kutia mkazo na kuweka nguvu mambo ya ugatuzi.
And of course, that is also another issue I wanted us to discuss, especially because Kewopa and of course the leadership of Kirinyaga Women Rep Purity Ngirishi also threatened to boycott, calls to amend the constitution if this bill is not passed. What are your thoughts? Of course, with this in mind and the soundbite that we just played. Hashima.
You see, I talked about impunity and disregard to the rule of law, the constitution. biggest gain, and it was not given on a platter. The whole women movement in this country were together to actually ensure that the provisions that are in the Constitution to secure the gender quotas, the two-third gender principle, women worked tirelessly. And this journey did not even start with the coming up of the Constitution. The provisions did not just find themselves there. There was a lot of time, resources, and emotions by women who felt that they have been treated as a second. You remember even those days, we were talking about second-hand citizen, the second class citizen.
Yes.
Women were now categorizing themselves as such because it is others first and women second. And therefore, we feel that if this was captured very well in the Constitution, and Parliament is actually, it's a shame. I serve in the Parliament, and it's a shame because many of my colleagues don't seem to understand this particular question, or they have certain fears. We can talk about that later. They see 76 already in the House as a threat to their power space, and therefore bringing another 41, because we are talking about an extra about 41 to get 117, therefore is fairly a good representation of the women in our National Assembly, and that can have the expected affirmative action impact, so that you bring this on board and expect that in the next round of general elections, then they will move to the competitive seats, dual single-member constituencies like the one I serve, and maybe even to the Senate, to the governorship. Because we have already good examples. In the Senate, we have 3 women. It wasn't there before, and some of them came through nominations first. And then the second round, they sought for competitive position. So I'm saying, why should we support referendum to change this constitution, and we haven't been told by the leadership why we cannot achieve this?
Sure.
Yeah. Why should we women actually be there for others when those others are not there for women? We will mobilize women against the referendum until this, because we cannot even be sure. You have had talks of punguza mzigo. When they speak that, the first thing in their mind, I can tell you, on the checklist to be removed is the 47 women, the women representative. We know that, and we can hear. And then, of course, the nominated seats in the county assemblies and the nominated seat in the Senate. So if you remove all that, then you have another, you revert back to the old position. So women are secure and safer in the 2010 Constitution. So we will demobilize against the referendum.
Miriam, do you share the same sentiments, boycotting the referendum? And, the words in Mheshimiwa's words, why should we women support others if they're not supporting us, in her words?
Yes, I would say that personally, I do not see why we're even going to referendum. We have not actually implemented the Constitution as it is. It's not even 10 years old. Why are we going to use so much money to do an amendment to the Constitution? Yet, we have not even felt the impact of this Constitution. When you hear about the amendments, we are only seeing personal interests are being geared towards the referendum. It's not about the nation. It's not about how well we are doing economically. It's not about how we are going to take care of this, our citizenship. It's about who gets power. And for us, as women of this country, we need to say, even the power we got in 2010, we were not given. So why are we going even to amend to give power to anyone else?
And the fact that the bill was not passed leaves Parliament at a rather, not so good state, because anyone can petition a court to dissolve the Parliament, right? And I think that is one of the route that FIDA wanted to take.
Actually, we're already in court. The court has been giving orders that we wait for Parliament to act. I think so far we have given Parliament enough chances to act. I believe court is watching. They're part of this country. And the next time we go to court, I hope that is not the order we'll get, because now it's up to the judiciary to amend, to save this country from these. being unruly, because that's totally being unruly. So I'm hoping that in the next time we come to court, court will make the right decision.
Maybe there are some people, and Kenyans need to read more than just a two-third gender question. Maybe there are some groups that feel that if Parliament was dissolved, they would possibly be able to capture another term, because it will be said, one, that their seats are different from Parliament. You see, for example, the executive, would it be affected? Would it be stopped for running a second? Would, for example, the head of state be stopped from running a second time, a full 5 years, if Parliament was dissolved? He is entitled to 5 years, you can see, and he has not done 5 years, not because of any fault on his part, because he can arguably say, I don't have a vote in the House. It's the registrators who have failed. So Parliament is actually cooking its own goose without understanding the political implication that they can actually find themselves on their own. Like my sister has said, the judiciary has a responsibility to implement the Constitution. There are groups that are already in court. You have heard that. And there has been several amendments, adjournments of this case, putting out of the case from the cause list, from the hearing, on excuses or reasons that they are waiting for Parliament to finalize with this bill. So even we were eager ourselves to have it, to pass this particular stage, because we knew they are not committed, and they are misleading the court, they are misinforming the court that there is a bill they are likely to vote for. The Attorney General must have known that they are not doing very well in terms of this bill. Yes, and they are as the advisor of the executive. And therefore, he has gone to court on several occasions together with the National Assembly, and to say, oh, wait, before you consider this application to dissolve, to ask for a declaration that Parliament is not properly constituted, let's first finish with what is in the House, on the floor of the House. Now it's over. I think the court should actually move with speed.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Just hold it there. We'll be coming back after a short break that we need to take right now. And of course, I see a lot of your feedback. One Juma Osman saying the same women said what a man can do, a woman can do. Let them prove it in politics. I don't know what my panel here is going to say after the break. And of course, later after the break, we'll be joined by Honorable David Olesan Kok, who is a nominated member of Parliament, famous for his Slay Queen statement. I don't know if he still holds the same thought. We will be talking to him via phone. He's in Garissa. And of course, you do want, of course, to keep staying with us, to keep the conversation going at KTN News KE, at Grace Korea KE. We'll be back in a few minutes.